State your name.
Cam Underdown.
And where you from?
From Royal Oak, Michigan.
Right on.
Now I live in Pontiac.
Now you live in Pontiac?
I do live in Pontiac, yeah.
What's Pontiac?
That's where we're at right now. Pontiac is like a...
Is he like an Indian chief though?
Yes, he was.
I see him on the buildings like...
Yes.
It's actually kind of creepy.
Yeah, he's on odd signs and different things like that, but one of the Indian chiefs from around here, yeah.
Cool. So what was it like growing up here in Michigan?
I grew up in Royal Oak, so Royal Oak is actually the coolest town in the Detroit area. Like, I go around and say, oh, I'm from Royal Oak, everybody's like, oh man, like, lucky, that's cool. So like, I had a little bit of culture, but there's a huge lack of culture. My mom was an art teacher too, so down in the College for Creative Studies in Detroit. So I had a little bit more, but I know a lot of my friends were like, just like, we grow up, we play sports, we watch sports, we, you know, eat dinner at 5 o'clock, and that's just kind of how it goes.
And did you grow up with faith?
I did not. I did not grow up in faith. I remember the very first time I ever got introduced to church, I was 5 years old, because I was supposed to go to this public school down the street, but the kindergarten teacher was old and she didn't like boys anymore. She was just like kind of sick of them. So my mom was like, we'll send him to the Catholic school like a couple blocks down. And that was my first experience in faith. So I think I had more faith experience than at my age 5 than anyone in my family.
So like, how did that turn out? Like, so now you're in high school or college, or like, tell me like, how did that faith or lack of faith inspire?
Well, I mean, for me, like, faith was just like, so I was in like science class, I was in math class, and I was in like religion class. Like, that's how it went. So like, I got really good at religion. I was really good in school. I was like reading in church, and they called my parents' house and was like, you should prepare him for the priesthood. And I would pray multiple times per day. I remember actually when I was like 12 years old, I really wanted to date this girl. So I wrote a prayer that would help me date her. And I said it 3 times a day for like a year and a half until it actually came true. Like, that was just kind of how I treated it. It was like, this is what you do it just like you study for biology or whatever. Probably about like 14, 15 years old though, I started to kind of question things. There's this girl who legit liked me, and she was an atheist, and so I was like, wow, that's cool, like, I'll be an atheist too, like, you know, so we can be together, be closer. And so that's the faith that I adopted for the final 4 years of high school, which is weird because I was at a Catholic high school, and I had a full ride there. They were paying for me to go there, and I became like the school's most well-known atheist.
Really?
Yes, preaching.
So it was just known, like...
Oh yeah, I wrote a paper for my morality class in a Catholic school called "There Is No Right to Life," and I read it in front of my class, 4 pages. I would get in arguments all the time.
You still have that?
I do have that paper on a hard drive somewhere, which is it's pretty bad. It's not very well thought out, I realize. I thought it was at the time.
So, how did you come to know? Like, what brought you to the point where you were willing to, like, okay, God is real? Well,
that relationship ended bad. That first one, I wound up cheating on her, and then I got in this relationship with this other girl, and like, we went through some really hard times. I was a senior in high school. Everything kind of started going downhill. I had like a 33 on my ACT and a 4.4 GPA, and had like the whole world in front of me. About 2 months before graduation, a girl and I, like, she actually got pregnant. We wound up having an abortion, and just like everything kind of spiraled out for us from there. Just kind of hit the ground. No one knew. Like, I had a full ride to college. I had all the things in the world, like, still going my direction, but I had this hole in me I didn't know what to do with anymore. I had experienced some of just these crazy, terrible things. I remember when I was like, that ended shortly into college. And then there's this one girl I really liked, and I was going after her, and she and her boyfriend eventually broke up, and I was like, now's my time, and started hanging out. She's like, you want to go to church with me? And I said, I'll go anywhere. You want to go? So I went to church for the first time in my life willingly, not because I was told to. We probably went to church together like 3 times, and she was like, hey, what do you believe? I was like, well, I'm an atheist. She was like, what? And then like, kind of got to this point where I was like, well, you want to like date maybe? And she was like, I can't date you, you're not a Christian. And that was the moment where I was like, what in the heck are you talking about? I'm not a Christian, what does that have to do with anything? But I had a high value and she had a higher one, and that higher value that she had than my highest value was what started to like intrigue me about who this God might be.
Good old missionary dating.
Yeah. I was evangelidated. and then evangel dumped.
So you started to seek who God was. Like, okay, if you're real, did you ever ask that question, like about yourself? Like, okay, God, if you're real,
that's funny.
Reveal yourself.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. That's the exact question I asked. So I went off about a year trying to figure it out my own way. I took my college's first introduction to Islam course. I was arguing like Islam now, Christianity, trying to figure out all these religions and stuff and make sense of what I knew. I remember getting to a point at the end of my sophomore year. I'd been going out with this other girl now, and she dumped me. She said she loved everything about me, but that I was too young. That was the only thing that she couldn't handle. I was too young. And I said, that's the one thing I can't change. Like, how can I be everything and then like have this one thing I can't change? So I kind of went in this depression. And I had all these Christian friends now because I was hanging out with this Christian girl and all her friends. They were like, you should come to church. And I was like, no, I don't know. And one day I remember getting up. My roommates had moved out. I was living in a house in Ferndale, which is near my hometown. My mom was actually just renting the house out to me. And I was running out of money, running out of options, didn't have a job. And I just sat down in my house one day. And I looked in the mirror and I said, when was the last time I was happy with just who I am and not with what somebody else thought about me? And I just was like, I think I had to remember back because I was like 11 years old was the last time I could pinpoint it. That's when I had somewhat of a relationship with God, and I was like, well, these Christians are telling me it's God, and the only thing I can think about is God, and so maybe it's God. And so I went into my bathroom that morning, and I said, God, like, if you're real, I need you to reveal yourself to me. And within about a minute and a half, he did. I mean, he could have sent like a purple unicorn or something, or like a tornado, and I wouldn't have believed it. But the one thing, after we got pregnant, I had that abortion, the one thing no one knew about me, the one thing, was that I had never been able to cry a physical tear afterwards. I could still feel sad, I could still feel mad, but nothing real would come out of my eyes. It would just kind of turn to sand or something. It felt like when I hit this point where I want to cry when all these terrible things happen. And as soon as I said, God, reveal yourself to me, within 1 minute, like I could actually cry real tears. And it was the one thing that no one else knew. It was the one thing I knew. God was speaking to me. And I just at that point was like, oh my God, I had it wrong. I was dead wrong. So I called up those same people that day and said, all right, like, I believe in this God like you're talking about. Like, I think he's real. I think I'm a Christian now. Like, what's next? And they were like, what?
I think anybody would say, huh?
Yeah, it didn't come out of anywhere that made sense to them at all.
But those are the best conversions. The ones that what happen when you're by yourself and like nobody's there. And only it's just you and God, you know.
Absolutely.
It's not on show for everybody.
Right. I've been in. Yeah.
What is your life like now as a believer?
That's been as exciting, or if that's exciting at all, as a story. My life in following Christ has been about 100 times more exciting, and filled with more wonder and things. Like, I don't know. I guess some people like kind of. That's like the top moment in their lives. Oh, when I gave my life to Christ. I mean, that was like actually one of my bottom moments, and it's been an incredible journey ever since. I can tell you story after story.
Just give me like some of the tangible things that you can see like, in your life. Just name them all. What's the top 5 things that you see from your life as being, you know?
One thing I know. Is that again, I can look in the mirror and be okay with like who I am. Before I couldn't do that. I was so concerned about who I was for other people, and I see that a lot in myself still kind of, but others as well. And I know that now because of who I know Christ to be, and how He looks at me and says like, I love you just for exactly who you are, gives me peace throughout the day. I used to live a very frantic, crazy paced life. And now I have a more peaceful life that has like rhythm to it and has some like sense to it. I meet the craziest most wonderful people I can ever imagine. I've spent many nights like on the streets of Detroit, hanging out with the homeless in the Cass corridor. I've spent many nights hanging out with students at Oakland University. I started to see value in every person I meet, and as I see value in every person, like God shows me more of the value that exists all in the world. I think before I only saw value in myself and what I could do, and then after meeting Jesus like in this way and realizing God was real, I started to see value everywhere and in everyone. And I realized how small I was and about how important I was. And before I felt unimportant and big, like in the world, it's
Everything
bad.
centered around you.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about your wife?
Oh yeah, married now. Never thought that was gonna happen. I came from a family that was divorced. Obviously had really bad relationships. Felt really scared about getting married. Thought it was like this never works. Like, you know, why would I even bother? I'm actually married to the pastor's daughter of the largest church in Michigan now, which is really weird. It's kind of crazy, but being married, people ask me to talk about it, and the only word I can describe it with is freedom. Because before I was chained up to all these expectations, all these different girls I thought had of me or trying to be someone. And now that all of my focus and attention is turned to one, I'm free to be who I am and to love her the best. And I don't have to worry about all the other crap I feel like everybody else has to worry about. And I feel so content and free being with her. She's an amazing woman who helps me feel that way. She's a teacher. She puts up with all my crap and crazy ideas. So it's awesome.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, absolutely. See you guys.